World turning round and round, see this in every town. Never here, I just roam. Questions leave me alone. Suspicion in their eyes, is it wrong to live in disguise? Misdemeanor or a crime? I just wonder all the time. You don't need my ID, just let me be, let me be. Dirty bacon on my trail, in this world I won't fail. Catch me if you can, always moving, I'm the man. Rules with no name, just bets from the thoughts in my head. On a train or in the sky, I'm the one who loves to fly. No chains to hold me down, freedom's what I found. You don't need my ID, just let me be, let me be. Dirty bacon on my trail, in this world I won't fail. Catch me if you can, always moving, I'm the man. Rules with no name, just bets from the thoughts in my head. On a train or in the sky, I'm the one who loves to fly. No chains to hold me down, freedom's what I found. You don't need my ID, just let me be, let me be. Dirty bacon on my trail, in this world I won't fail.
No idea what they were about to face. 200 miles north of here, Al-Qaeda terrorists took control of two aircraft, American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175. At 8:46 a.m., the first plane was flown deliberately into the North Tower. And minutes later, the second airplane was flown into the second tower. We all knew at that very moment that our world had changed, that America was at war. And then at 9:37 a.m., just moments ago, 24 years ago, American Airlines Flight 77 ripped through the west wall here at the Pentagon, where our flag outside the building now hangs. And this ground that we stand upon became hollowed. 2,977 were lost in the attacks that morning. The conventional wisdom is that our nation went to war weeks later in Afghanistan. The truth is, we went to war immediately, and America started to fight back before the attack was even over. In New York City, firefighters, police officers, paramedics, first responders, and everyday citizens charged into towers, climbing hundreds and hundreds of flights of stairs to rescue their fellow Americans. And right here in this courtyard at the Pentagon, as flames filled the corridors and smoke followed, service members and civilians went into that flame to save their fellow teammates. They covered their faces with T-shirts rolled in water to shield their skin and pushed through the fire and rubble. They carried the wounded out, and they went back in again and again and again and again until others had to stop them from going back. And even as this building burned, the Pentagon never shut down. Survivors organized, and thousands went to work to defend our nation. And there were 40 first responders on United Airlines Flight 93. 40 heroes who, unlike us who wear the cloth of our nation, never took an oath to protect and defend our nation. They just got on an airplane. And knowing full well what was happening, they found the courage and commitment to run forward in that airplane, sacrificing themselves over the fields of Pennsylvania to save Americans that they would never meet and never know. And I, for one, think of them every day and the gift of courage that they gave my squadron mates and I on that day. So as we come here together, let us reflect and let us never forget. Let us never forget the families who've shown us what true courage looks like as they continue to persevere through the years after. And let us all be inspired by the determination of those brave heroes who showed us that day what America is all about. And let anybody who ever considers attacking the United States remember those examples as well, and the great American warrior spirit that was shown that day. Thank you very much. And now it's my distinct honor to introduce our nation's Secretary of War. May we never forget our fallen. May we never forget our deployed. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of War, the Honorable Pete Hegseth.
"24 years ago, Islamist terrorists massacred nearly 3,000 innocent American lives in New York City, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and right here at the Pentagon. The building you see behind me, the War Department, was targeted in an act of savage evil. And today on these hallowed grounds, we gather to honor those victims and heroes with the resolve to never forget. We gather to pay tribute to the first responders who charged into the flames and up the stairs, to those trapped on planes fighting their final fight, and to the families whose lives were forever altered by that fateful day. Like everyone in this audience, I remember exactly where I was when that first tower was struck. A college junior with a fresh set of Army fatigues in my dorm room closet, having just joined Army ROTC. Like too many Americans, I was naive to the threats brewing abroad and infiltrating our shores. But from that day forward, I felt an unshakable call to action, a duty to defend our sacred homeland with everything I had. Like all of you, 9/11 was the ultimate validator to serve. But I was not alone. An entire generation of warriors stepped forward, willing to pay the ultimate price to exact retribution and secure our country. Forged in the crucibles of Afghanistan and Iraq, we stood watch in distant lands on dangerous missions, often, in retrospect, nebulous missions, all to secure our people and so we could live in peace. War is an enduring aspect of the human condition, a tool that, when wielded wisely, ruthlessly punishes enemies intent on terrorizing or subjugating our nation. War must not become a mere tool for global social work, eager to risk American blood and treasure for utopian fever dreams. We should hit hard, wreak vengeance, and return home. For 2 decades, our warriors fought with valor every day, far from home, even though sometimes their leaders gave them nation-building missions and half-baked exits. Thankfully today, we have an American military that President Trump has now rebuilt twice. Yet despite the weight of history, the Department of War will always honor the service of our warriors and all they left behind, never straying from the warrior ethos they and those on 9/11 embodied and deserve. We best honor their memory and the memory of 9/11 by learning the correct lessons of that day and the decades of courage that followed. Full hearts, clear eyes. To every member of our War Department, past and present, you are the best, the real elite, the real 1% of this nation. Standing here today, we honor those 184 rings of the bell, souls lost at the Pentagon and on Flight 77. Even as first responders were grossly outnumbered by the wounded, many ran toward the chaos, cared for the injured, and comforted the dying. It was bedlam. But in that moment, American heroism was laid bare. That purpose, that spirit lives on in uniform today. Despite such tragedies, our republic endured. It endured that day. It endured on Flight 93, charging that cockpit, and at the Pentagon. It endured over those Islamists. It endured over 2 decades of war, and it endured stronger, wiser, and tougher, forged by the blood and courage of patriots. Our job now is to ensure that future generations inherit a strong and vigilant America. 9/11 is vivid for me and all of you, but it will soon live only in the history books for our youngest. We must teach our children that the price of freedom we love is eternal vigilance. Instill in them the importance of upholding America's Constitution, holding tight to our freedom and our faith, and relentlessly pursuing our enemies. Prepare them to defend this nation by the ballot, the wallet, and when necessary, the cloth of our country, because the world remains a viper's nest. It requires us. As I speak, hostile elements plot to curb our power and slaughter our people in our homeland, in our hemisphere, and halfway around the globe. Not everyone needs to wear a uniform, but some of us do. That is our profession and our promise to this nation. In closing, a reading from Scripture, Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 4. We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope. On this day, 24 years ago, we suffered. In the years since, we have endured. Our service and sacrifice have forged our character, and today we stand in hope for the future of our great nation. The young soldiers who take the oath give me hope. The young cops who wear the badge give me hope. The young firefighters who answer the call give me hope. The young agents who patrol our border give me hope. The life, example, and even death of Christ follower and American patriot Charlie Kirk give me hope. Sheer courage, no matter the arena. Charlie, we love you. We know that you have heard the Lord's words. Well done, good and faithful servant. Full heart, clear eyes. Like those on 9/11, he will never be forgotten. So I thank God for all of you and all of our fighters from that day to today and beyond. May God bless our warriors as they ruthlessly seek our enemies on behalf of the fellow citizens they love. We owe you and all of those who witnessed 9/11 nothing less. It is now my great honor to introduce to you our Commander-in-Chief, President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Before we begin, let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd, very, very big. Thank you, my fellow Americans. 84 years ago this morning, the banks of the Potomac were filled with the clamor of construction workers who broke ground on the building now known as the Pentagon on September 11th, 1941. At the time, it was the biggest building ever built. From that moment forward, this structure stood as a monument to American strength, power, and cherished American freedom. Exactly 6 decades later, on September 11th, 2001, those same walls, built with the sweat and muscle, blood of our parents and grandparents, were scarred by flame and shaken by terror as our country came face to face with pure evil. On that fateful day, savage monsters attacked the very symbols of our civilization. Yet here in Virginia and in New York and in the skies over Pennsylvania, Americans did not hesitate. They stood on their feet and they showed the world that we will never yield, we will never bend, we will never give up, and our great American flag will never, ever fail. That terrible morning 24 years ago, time itself stood still. The laughter of school children fell silent. The rush of our traffic came to an absolute halt. And for 2,977 innocent souls and their families, the entire world came crashing down so suddenly. In the quarter of a century since those acts of mass murder, 9/11 family members have felt the weight of missed birthdays and empty bedrooms, journals left unfinished, and dreams left unfulfilled. To every member that still feels a void every day of your lives, the First Lady and I unite with you in sorrow. And today, as one nation, we renew our sacred vow that
At Grainger, we have over 1 million products, including the ones that help keep your work.
amid the horror of that morning, some used cell phones and office lines to whisper their final words to those who mattered most. They whispered indeed. At 8:59 a.m. aboard United Flight 175, Brian Sweeney called his wife, Julie. He told her, "Do good, go have good times. I totally love you. I'll see you again. I'll meet you up there." 4 minutes later, his plane hit the south tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:12 a.m. aboard American Airlines Flight 77, Renee May called her mom. Just the day before, Renee had learned that she was 7 weeks pregnant, but she never got the chance to share the news. She simply said, "I love you, Mom." 25 minutes later, Renee's plane struck the Pentagon. So violent, a strike it was. At 9:53 a.m. aboard United Flight 93, Elizabeth Waineo called her stepmom. They're getting ready to break into the cockpit. What do I do? I love you so much. They're going to break in. 10 minutes later, Flight 93 ended in the hallowed field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. At 10:25 a.m., Tom McGinnis was trapped on the 92nd floor of the North Tower when he told his wonderful wife, Elena, on the phone, there are people jumping from the floors above us. If we get out of here, it'll be a total miracle. I love you, darling. Take care of Caitlin, beautiful daughter. 3 minutes later, the tower fell. Out of the ash, we witnessed the awesome power of that incredible love. We've seen it rise again. Out of the wreckage, we watched unbelievable courage suddenly take form. And out of the darkness, we saw the timeless truth of American character shine for the world to see. In America, we take blows, but we never buckle. We bleed, but we do not bow. And we defy the fear, endure the flames, and emerge from the crucible of every hardship stronger, prouder, and greater than ever before. Last year, we were a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. In New York, there were heroes like Chuck Costello, a 46-year-old elevator mechanic and a member of the Knights of Columbus. He selflessly ran into the World Trade Center to free people trapped in the elevators. His body was not found until the following January, deep under the debris. While going through his belongings, Chuck's widow, Mary, a phenomenal woman, discovered a personal prayer written in his own words, "Help me to light the way for those in the dark, and when I enter the darkness, let me not panic, but patiently wait to remember the light." Beautiful words. When the time came, Chuck ran boldly into the darkness of hell on earth, and now he shines in the light of heaven above. We remember him this morning. That day we learned that the American heroic spirit was all around us. We saw it in the police officers, the great firefighters, the service members here at the Pentagon, and in the hearts of every American who answered history's call. One such hero was Army Sergeant First Class Steve Workman, who was on the edge of the impact zone when this incredible Pentagon was hit. He was right there. After leading hundreds of people to escape routes, Steve turned back and plunged into the inferno itself. pushing through the debris, he came upon a severely burned Navy lieutenant, the only survivor from the Navy Command Center. Only one. The wounded lieutenant looked into Steve's soul and said, "Don't let me die." Steve replied, "I won't. I've got you. Just hang on." He wheeled the lieutenant out of the wreckage on the back of a maintenance cart before getting in the ambulance and taking him to Walter Reed Hospital. That man Steve saved, Lieutenant Kevin Schaefer, went on to join the elite team of CIA operatives who located Osama bin Laden. Steve, you're an American hero. We appreciate it. We appreciate what you've gone through. Please stand. Please stand. Where are you? Oh, good-looking man. You're a good-looking guy. You remember that day. You remember that day. Good. Thank you very much, Steve. That was something. That was something. In the years that followed, America's warriors avenged our fallen and sent an unmistakable message to every enemy around the world. If you attack the United States of America, we will hunt you down and we will find you. We'll go all over this sometimes magnificent earth. We will crush you without mercy and we will triumph without question. That's why we named the former Department of Defense the Department of War. It will be different. We won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything before that and in between. And then we decided to change the name. Well, now we have it back to where we all want it. Everybody wanted it. Everybody is so happy to have it back. You will fail and America will win, win, win. The enemy will always fail. 24 years have passed since that Tuesday morning in September, and an entire generation of Americans have come of age in a totally different world. While they cannot remember the agony of that day, they are carrying on the legacy of those who lost. Around 8:30 a.m. on the morning of the attacks, Army Lieutenant Colonel Kip Taylor sent an email to his friends and family describing the joys of fatherhood and his excitement for the upcoming birth of his unborn son. He wrote, "After you have kids, there are days that you just get going and you say, 'Hi, honey, I'm home.' What we do until that moment pales in comparison, but just that little statement, 'Hi, honey,' so American, so beautiful. But that's really the point of it all, isn't it?" An hour after he sent that email, Flight 77 flew into Colonel Taylor's Pentagon office and claimed the life of a very proud father and true patriot. 6 weeks later, on October 25th, 2001, Colonel Taylor's son, Luke, was born. Luke then tragically lost his mom to cancer when he was just 2 years old, leaving him to be raised by his father's brother. As a young boy, Luke asked his uncle about the folded flag on the bookshelf, and when he learned about his dad's decades of devotion to the Army and the horrors of September 11th, that's when he learned. Luke carried that memory with him and joined the ROTC as a college freshman. He graduated just last year, and I'm pleased to say he is with us today as a second lieutenant and doing very well. He's rising quickly in the infantry, preparing for Army Ranger School. The spitting image of his dad, they say, Luke says that every time he puts on a uniform, he feels connected to his father and to our country. But it was a father he never knew. Luke, your parents are together in heaven, and they could not be prouder of the man that they have produced. They produced you. Those two great people produced you. Luke, please stand. Thank you, Luke. You look good, Luke. You look good. They're looking down on you. They're very proud. This morning, we recall the light of America's best and bravest and the love that they showed in their final moments. In their memory, we make a solemn pledge and a noble promise. We will honor always our great heroes, and you are our heroes. There's a group of people that don't want to talk about our heroes, but we will always talk about our heroes, and that's the way our country is, and that's the way the people feel. We will defend the nation they served, the values they upheld, and the freedom for which they died. We will support our troops, we will protect our families, and we will preserve the American way of life for every future generation. We will build taller, grow stronger, fight harder, and soar higher. And together we will go forward as one people with one heart, one fate, one flag, and one glorious destiny under Almighty God. May God bless the memories of those who died and the heroes who fought and the soldiers who still stand watch. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the singing of God Bless America, and remain standing for the benediction.
We don't really identify mental health as the energy that it deserves. And I think I can
Let us pray. Almighty and merciful God, gratefully we acknowledge your presence with us this morning and implore your presence day by day. Grant peace for those who grieve, wisdom for those who lead, and courage for those standing the watch for our nation. We implore your blessing, not asking you to conform to our will, but that you would align us with yours. Now may the Lord bless us and keep us. May the Lord make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Please remain seated until the departure of the official party. Thank you for joining us this morning. The Pentagon Memorial and the Pentagon Memorial Chapel are open until 12 p.m.
All right, there you have it. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, as well as the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, taking part in that 9/11 anniversary ceremony that was held there at the Pentagon to honor all of the victims that died on that day. Nearly 3,000 lives taken and hundreds of people injured. Now, you did hear from President Trump as he made the announcement there that Charlie Kirk will be posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Of course, we are following everything on the assassination of Kirk, and we'll bring you all of the updates here as they do happen. For now, I do want to head to a quick 2-minute commercial break at 10:13 on the East Coast and 7:13 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and you're watching Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back.
as we espouse the ideal that hope lives within each of us. Be with our families as they continue to mourn even.
Win if we back out from engaging with one another. And I'm committed, along with my congressional colleagues, Democrats and Republicans, we link arms in not only decrying such filthy crimes of cowardice, but also inspired by the Constitution and Charlie Kirk's efforts, we will continue to move forward with violence being threatened. It's not going to intimidate us. Our resolve is firm.
Can you tell folks out there, as we take a live look here over in Orem, Utah, that area, Utah Valley University, tell me a little bit about it for folks who are not familiar.
My area is a beautiful area. There's mountains just off to the east and a little bit to the north, and this is an outstanding institution. More than 40,000 students go to this institution, and many of my friends and colleagues have gone there. There's another university, Brigham Young University, just down the way. This is a bedroom community. There's houses, residences right around this institution, a major thoroughfare, I-15, a freeway that's right nearby as well, but restaurants, retail shops, as well as homes. This is a great area, and for this area to be subject to such a heinous crime and the murder of this outstanding individual is something that is entirely unknown to us. We in the state of Utah generally, and this area specifically, have never seen these sort of behaviors in our area.
And Governor Cox had very strong words at the news conference just yesterday when everything was kind of laid out as far as what happened. He said this was political violence. It was a political assassination. I wanted to ask, what message do you want to share with both Republicans and Democrats about addressing and preventing politically motivated violence overall?
Not only will this individual be brought to justice, and we do have the death penalty in the state of Utah, and this should be prosecuted in the state of Utah, but Charlie Kirk stood for something bigger than himself, and he gave his life for it, and that's freedom of speech. And I stand with him. I stand with the young people that followed Charlie Kirk, and I stand with the United States of America, because violence is how other countries may quell their populations and prevent them from being able to exercise their God-given and constitutionally protected freedom of speech. And I stand with all like-minded individuals to decry violence and to stand with the Constitution and our privilege of speaking freely, especially about politics and the disagreements that invariably we have today. It's only through communication in a nonviolent fashion that we can resolve the issues of the day.
When you look at this and you kind of track everything with the investigation that's going on, but you also have a college campus where, as you mentioned, we're talking tens of thousands of students. What message do you have for young people there who are maybe shaken today as the search is still underway for Charlie Kirk's assassin?
We should mourn. Many of those people knew Charlie Kirk. They were fans of his, and they had to witness a horrific event that no one should ever have to witness, let alone experience. So we should mourn. And the mourning, and I'm a doctor, mourning is a healing process, and we should link arms, and we should celebrate a life and mourn a violent death. But after that, and today is September 11th, we should give all due regard to that as well. And after that period of time, we get back to work. The House of Representatives, United States House of Representatives, is doing its work today, even now. And we continue to work forward. And I'd say to all people, mourn. We should mourn and be sad that there are individuals that believe we should speak with bullets, not with words. There are individuals in our society that are like that. They are rare. And those people, this person will be prosecuted. But most of us believe that we can engage with one another and resolve the issues. And I'll just say, with hope and optimism, the United States of America is a great place. Its people are great people. And we will move on from this. We will never forget. But we will move on and continue to do the work of the American people.
And I did want to ask you here, before I let you go, again, as all of this does continue to develop, how would you like to make sure that Charlie Kirk is remembered there in Utah, but also across the country and really across the world? What is his legacy there in your eyes?
J.D. Vance has already come into the state to recognize the significant contribution, and President Trump already has recognized over and over again the contribution that Charlie Kirk has made to bring young people to the table of discussion. And that's people on all sides, in a respectful, vigorous fashion, he was willing and able to debate on many different issues. So we're already seeing that, and I can foresee an annual event, if not a constant event for us, at least in the short term, for us to continue to honor the memory of this good young man who did so much for our society and bringing young people to the table to have political conversations. And you can bet that I and many others will be involved in that process to make sure that he is not forgotten.
Congressman Mike Kennedy there of Utah represents this area. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today on what is 9/11 and, of course, a day of mourning as well for folks who knew and loved Charlie Kirk. Is there anything else that you want to add at all before I let you go?
Thank you, Josh. I just want to say God bless America. This is more important than any one individual, and all of us can see that Charlie Kirk did his job and he paid the ultimate sacrifice for it. And I and many others are inspired by his example and want to live up to that great memory that he left. So God bless America, and we'll be okay. But now is the time for mourning and remembrance, and we should pay respect to not only Charlie Kirk, but also his widow and those two young children who now have to live without their husband and father.
All right, Congressman Kennedy, thank you again for your time today. We definitely appreciate it. And I do want to take you out to this post here from Governor Cox. You can see it's fairly lengthy, but he says, I have ordered the flags of the United States of America and the great state of Utah to be flown at half staff on all state facilities in recognition of the tragic passing of Charlie Kirk, who was shot and killed this afternoon, this was yesterday, while speaking at Utah Valley University. Flags should be lowered to the half-staff position and remain in the half-staff position until sunset on Sunday, that is September 14th. I extend this invitation to all private citizens, businesses, and other organizations. Again, that is a post there from Governor Spencer Cox of Utah, posted on social media. Now, I do want to take you out once again to this live look that we have over the scene, as the investigation is still a very active one on the college campus. You can see that the yellow crime scene tape is still up around the location of that event yesterday, where all of this did unfold. And if you are just joining us, I do want to make sure we bring you all of the latest here. As we've heard from the FBI this morning, they have said that the revolver that was used here in this, rifle that was used in this attack has been located over in a wooded area near the scene of the college. We also know that they are searching near that location as they try to track down the shooter here. The FBI providing that update earlier today in a news conference alongside the Utah Department of Public Safety, also revealing the gunman appears to have blended in with the college crowd and
Okay, eBay.
appears to be, quote, college age. Again, that was from the news conference that we heard earlier on today. Kirk, the 31-year-old conservative activist and founder of Turning Point, was killed when a single gunshot was fired from a rooftop as Kirk took part in an event there at Utah Valley University. He was speaking at the time, answering questions, when video circulating from very close up did show him hit in the neck and then rushed to a hospital. President Trump later announcing that Kirk, his very close ally there, had died. And Utah Governor Spencer Cox calling this a, quote, political assassination. In a video message that was filmed in the Oval Office, President Trump called Kirk, quote, a martyr for truth and freedom. And as we mentioned this morning, during his 9/11 anniversary comments, Trump announced that Kirk will be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He's credited there with rallying young Republicans to vote in the presidential election. Now, the shooter, again, has not been identified or arrested. While two people were detained yesterday, neither of them was determined to be connected to the shooting in any way, and both were released. That is according to the Utah Department of Public Safety. As the congressman mentioned there, Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife Usha will be in Salt Lake City, Utah today to visit with Charlie Kirk's family. If we get any sort of remarks there, we're going to bring them to you here on Live Now from Fox, as we always do. We are going to head to a quick break now at 11:05 on the East Coast and 8:05 on the West Coast. You're watching Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back. Public Safety and the FBI, providing all of the latest details, including that the gun that was used in the assassination has been located. If you missed it, I do want to play it for you fairly brief here on Live Now from Fox.
Good morning. I am Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. I'd be remiss if we didn't start off today and recognize the significance of the day. Historically, on 9/11, law enforcement has come together as a group to recognize and honor those that sacrificed to preserve the ideals of this country, the freedoms of this country. And instead, we find ourselves today hunting a murderer who chose to violate our rights, the rights of an individual within this country. Just to recap yesterday's events, at around 12:20 p.m., political influencer Charlie Kirk was at Utah Valley University participating in a student-sponsored event with Turning Point USA. Charlie was shot at that event. He was transported to a local hospital where he later passed. Last night, his body was moved to the state office of the medical examiner. We will continue to facilitate movements to get him home today and with his family. Yesterday, during the investigative process, we located a couple of persons of interest. We interviewed those individuals, and after releasing them and after clearing them of being suspects, they face scrutiny, they face threats. We asked the public to be patient with the investigative process. These individuals were not suspects, they were people of interest. We ask that you do not impose into those people and that investigative process. They don't deserve that harassment for being subject to that. I'd like to thank all the investigators that are involved in this. They have worked around the clock. All day yesterday, through the night last night, investigators from the State Bureau of Investigations, from county, from city agencies, the university, our federal partners with the FBI, the ATF, and many others. Those are just a few of the people that we have involved in this. I'd like to thank all of them for their strong work. Through all that work last night, we were able to make a few breakthroughs. We were able to track the movements of the shooter. Starting at 11:52 a.m., this subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood. Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads. We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time. We are working through some technologies and some ways to identify this individual. If we are unsuccessful, we will reach out to you as the media and we will push that publicly to help us identify them. But we are confident in our abilities right now, and we would like to move forward in a manner that keeps everyone safe and moves this process appropriately. Last night I communicated with Erica. The family's devastated. As a commissioner of public safety, as a father, as a husband, I can only imagine what that family's going through. The heinous event that happened yesterday is not Utah. This is not what we're known for. Over the past several weeks, we've seen this state come together to help families in mourning, come together as a community to show what Utah is known for a state of character, of service, of camaraderie, of a neighboring feel. We will not stand for what happened yesterday. We are exhausting every lead. We have every officer invested in this, every investigator, every local agency. The outpouring of support from the law enforcement community has been astounding. We are investing everything we have into this, and we will catch this individual. Having walked through the crime scene, through the hallways of this school, through the classrooms, I can't imagine what the people on scene felt as well. A horrific event where some of them barricaded in classrooms, some of them ran in fear. Can't overstate the tragedy and the horrific event that yesterday was, and how we will work to bring to justice the actions of one individual or any other individuals that assisted in that. Our state has gone through a lot, and we will come out successful. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Special Agent Bowles in charge.
Good morning. My name is Robert Bowles, and I am the Special Agent in charge of the Salt Lake Field Office. Following yesterday's tragic shooting of Charlie Kirk, FBI agents have been working around the clock in coordination with our law enforcement partners. We are and will continue to work nonstop until we find the person that has committed this heinous crime and find out why they did it. This morning I can tell you that we have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. So the FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis. Now, I understand there are a lot of questions about motive. I assure you that all leads, tips are being fully investigated. As of this morning, we have received more than 130 tips. We thank the community for that. The FBI has brought every resource to bear, and we will continue to do so throughout the course of this investigation. The FBI's mission is to protect the American people. It's to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Any attack on the First Amendment is an attack on the very foundation of our democracy. That is why we will relentlessly pursue this case and the shooter until we find him. We also continue to grieve with the family and the community. It's our community. If you have any video or images from the shooting, we ask you to please submit them to our digital media tip website at www.fbi.gov/Utah Valley Shooting. You can also call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. We truly rely on the public's help in these types of cases, and no tip is too small or insignificant. Thank you.
Absolutely. So what I'll release about the suspect is suspect blended in well with a college institution. And we're not releasing many details right now, and we will soon. But right now we're not. But that individual appears to be of college age. We are confident in our abilities to track that individual. If we're unsuccessful in identifying them immediately, we will reach out for the public's help and the media's help in pushing those photos. That was a new development overnight, working through the night, studying those cameras. So that's something that's new and that we're working through right now. As far as the security, I cannot speak to that. Neither the Department of Public Safety nor the Federal Bureau of Investigation was involved in the planning or security of this event, and that'll have to be a question later for other agencies.
So that's a good question, and it's a question that goes to the safety of the community, right? No, not in those woods. We've walked through those woods and secured it. As to the community, I can tell you that this was a targeted event. We don't believe that the community is at risk. However, we are exhausting every resource to find him, and we will do so. So I can't comment specifically on his face or any details such as that, as it's continuing to be a part of the investigation, and again, we'll release that shortly. However, we're doing everything we can to find him, and we're not sure how far he has gone yet, but we will do our best. We have images of the suspect. Again, as part of the investigation, we're not releasing any details such as that right now. We are exhausting all of our resources to be able to collect those, but that's, again, part of the investigation. Excuse me? We are working on that, but again, part of the investigation that I can't release. Not at all. We've got complete and total support from everyone, from the director on down, and it's been an incredible supportive environment so far. All I can say is that we're working the investigation the best we have with the environment we're given. So thank you.
All right, wrapping up that news conference taking place a little bit earlier on this morning, as there were some revelations there that were released. The Utah Department of Public Safety saying that the shooter appears to have been college age. And as you're taking a look right here on your screen, you can see the scene of that assassination that took place nearly 24 hours ago. Still a very active scene at this point. Fox News posting this right here. Breaking: Charlie Kirk assassin appears to be, quote, college age. That is what you just heard there moments ago from the Utah Department of Public Safety. They also posted this saying, quote, Charlie is our hero. Americans pay respect to Charlie Kirk at pop-up vigils across the nation after the Turning Point USA founder was assassinated while speaking at Utah Valley University on Wednesday. So these pop-up vigils took place yesterday, and there could potentially be more of them today. We're going to bring you any of the live images that we do get here on Live Now from Fox. And we brought this to you as President Trump was making his speech during the 9/11 commemoration that took place over there at the Pentagon earlier, as he announced that he will posthumously award Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And I also do want to mention that President Trump is expected to be at the New York Yankees game tonight. That is all connected to 9/11 as they remember the victims and heroes of the 9/11 attack. Do want to take you out to this live look that we have.
Think of all the places that could expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points.
Ceremonies that take place to honor the lives of nearly 3,000 people that died on that day 24 years ago. Going to head to a quick break here at 11:22 on the East Coast and 8:22 on the West Coast. You're watching Live Now from as he's attending. So did it take you kind of a second to process, especially as you look at that video and you see the large crowds and the people running?
Yeah, you can see the kind of the way the buildings are positioned around us. So when the shot rang out, it kind of echoed around those buildings. And I initially thought it could have been firecrackers. And that was the first thing I said was, what was that, firecrackers? And people started screaming, there's a shooter, and started running. And that was when my son answered and said Charlie had been shot. I knew at that point that it was not, simple firecrackers.
Have you spoken to Charlie Kirk before? I know, as we mentioned, you are a host, a media member there. You're covering this event. Have you had interactions with Charlie Kirk there in the past?
I filmed I streamed an event that Charlie Kirk put on for a local mayor that was running for U.S. Senate to replace Mitt Romney. And that was maybe a year ago, and I had filmed that event. It was pretty funny. There was a funny moment where Charlie threw out one of the somebody that was asking a rude question to the bank, to the candidate, and that was my only other interaction with Charlie. Really, was that brief, funny moment.
And I did want to ask, how is your son doing? Because I imagine that had to be absolutely terrifying. You said, right, that he's 17 years old?
Yeah, he's 17-year-old high school student. He's in concurrent enrollment at UVU. He's doing okay. He's a pretty strong kid. You can definitely tell that he's traumatized by it. He really looked up to Charlie Kirk. He was really the only reason we were there, was because my son wanted to see and ask a question to Charlie Kirk. So, and it really sets a bad example, for our young people as far as the state of our political discourse right now, having this happen in front of thousands of students.
I did want to ask you here, for folks who aren't necessarily familiar with the town that we're talking about, can you tell me a little bit about it, but also about the university itself?
Yeah, it's Utah Valley University is located in Orem, Utah, and it's a decent-sized city, metropolitan area, the Provo-Orem area, and it's in Utah County, south of Salt Lake City, and it is definitely a more conservative area. It's probably 60-70% Republican voters, so definitely a conservative area that this happened, and it's really surprising.
What do you hope that folks watching right here, and essentially just people in general across the country, can take away from what we've seen happen?
I think that I would really hope that people can have a civil discourse without resorting to violence like this. There's no words that should hurt your feelings enough that you have to kill somebody over it.
All right. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and discuss all of this a little bit further. Obviously, a situation right now where they are still searching for the shooter. Your thoughts on that, as you do have all of these students, there were so many people there and so many people attend the school, and at this point, a manhunt still underway almost 24 hours later.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting point about the security of the event. I had attended the Republican State Convention at this same facility just a few months earlier this spring, and I had to enter through the same doors. It wasn't in the exact same spot on the campus, but I had to enter through the same entrance. And back then, they searched our bags. Everybody was, there was actually security. Here, we just walked in the middle of a school day. There was thousands of students going between classes with their backpacks on. And I was carrying this gear bag, and with my tripods poking out of the top. Nobody stopped me. Nobody searched my bag. There was absolutely zero security except for right around the immediate, the immediate vicinity of Charlie Kirk. So I think I saw a couple sheriffs on one roof, but other than that, there was no real event security. So, there's a lot of stuff to process about this whole event, but the striking lack of security is really something that is interesting to me.
And I'm sure that will definitely be a topic of discussion a lot over the coming days and weeks here. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Is there anything we missed? Anything you want to add here before I let you go?
No, I don't think, it's a tragedy. I think that I hope we can all try and strive to be a little more like Charlie Kirk and stand up for our beliefs, because he did. He wasn't afraid to stand up for what he believed, and he paid for it with his life.
All right. Adam Bartholomew there. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We definitely appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
And I do want to take you out to this post here coming in from Fox News on social media, as they say sources are telling Fox News that messages were found written on the gun and ammunition that was used in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. As of right now, they say it is not clear exactly what those messages say, but sources just telling them that they were found on the gun and ammunition that were used in that attack. As we mentioned earlier, the Utah Department of Public Safety did say that the rifle that was used has been located. It was in a wooded area nearby, No other information released. They did say that they have, quote unquote, good video of the shooter. They are not releasing it right now, but also added that the shooter is believed to be, quote unquote, college age. If there is another update, and there likely will be later on today with officials, we're going to bring that to you in full, commercial free, as we always do on Live Now from Fox. Going to head to a quick break at 11:33 on the East Coast and 8:33 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and you're watching Live Now from Fox.
The shooter went. And let's be advised, UVU in Orem has had an active shooter at the Charlie Kirk event.
On the gun and the ammunition that was used in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That happening, of course, yesterday at Utah Valley University, as a large crowd was gathered there to watch everything related to Kirk, and he was answering questions at the time that a single gunshot was fired, according to investigators, who also say that they found the rifle used in a wooded area and that they have good video of the shooter. They are not releasing that yet, but say if they are not able to track this person down, they will release those images to the public. The second we get those, we can promise you that we'll show them here on Live Now from Fox. In the meantime, Caroline Shively has been out covering all of the latest developments.
Authorities still don't know who shot conservative icon Charlie Kirk, but they say they're getting closer. One day after Charlie Kirk's shocking murder in broad daylight, his assassin is still on the loose. Now authorities say they know how the gunman got into position and how he escaped.
We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood.
Officials also say they have images of the suspect and recovered the gun they believe was used in the shooting.
Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
6 campus police officers were working the event that about 3,000 people attended. They believe the shooter was on a nearby rooftop shooting down at Kirk.
There was one shot. We are staging at the front of the school.
Is on top of the building on the far north side, just east of the library, wearing jeans, black shirt, black vest.
Witnesses say this shooting is now raising new concerns about the rise of political violence in America.
It's just a really sad day for America, and it should be for everyone, no matter what side they fall on the political scheme.
Vice President J.D. Vance and the Second Lady are traveling to Utah today to pay their respects to the Kirk family. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Caroline, thank you so much, and we'll make sure to check in with Caroline and our friends over at Fox News, as well as our affiliates, as we get more information. If there is a news briefing today later on, and there could be, we'll make sure to bring that to you in full, commercial free, right here on Live Now from Fox. And you saw this in Caroline's story, but the dispatch audio shows a lot of the confusion and chaos that was taking place there on the campus and around the campus as they tried to find the killer, but also to get Charlie Kirk to a hospital and investigate the situation as a whole. The dispatch audio we have obtained via Storyful and Broadcastify. Do want to play that for you right now.
UVU by the Samson reported of one individual that was shot, unknown where the shooter went. And let's be advised, UVU in Orem has had an active shooter at the Charlie Kirk event. We're getting several calls. We're trying to get more information.
They requesting it?
We're not sure yet. We're just trying to get units that way.
I don't call out. North, do not respond code at this point until we have more information. There is law enforcement on scene.
At 10:14, we've passed UVU and Virginia.
Rest, please remain in the city.
.418 copy. How many injured do we have? just one person. Sounds like maybe another individual. The car, we're not sure if they're a patient or if they're just trying to get out of the area.
Over units responding to Orem. Switch over to Orem, Maine.
405, I copy. Switching.
We do have officers following the victim to Tiffin Urban Hospital.
Copy that. Will you confirm if they want us to meet them there or if they want us to go to UVU?
Maine, but they might be operating on the UVU channel. Stand by, I'll ask. Gunshots heard near the library at UVU. They're trying to lock the library down now. Still gathering. We've patched Orem, Maine, and UVU, so you can go to Orem, Maine with any traffic.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
The shooting and assassination of Christian apologist Charlie Kirk is sure to stir up controversy. So today we want to take a look at the scene that happened and unfolded today and try to determine where the shooter was. Well, anyway, normally we cover engineering disasters and other failures like that here. But again, this is another one of those things that involves forensics. And last year I did a number of videos on the Trump assassination attempt. So I want to take a look at some of the scenarios that happened here today and see what information we can glean out of this and try to determine where the shooter was located. And so the university is right here. So I'm going to zoom into the exact spot where, and it happened right here in this plaza. So this is the UVU courtyard. And everything was going on right in here. In fact, there was like thousands of people everywhere. There was people all over these staircases, all over the lawns here. And Charlie's tent was right here. And so what we're going to do today is just focus on this general area right in here. Now, this video clip that I'm about to show you was captured by two witnesses who probably a few minutes before the shooting, we don't know exactly when, but it shows what we think might be the shooter.
Get right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying?
Huh.
He just ran from over, where's my finger? Whoa. From over there, ran in. And I was right there. Just saying.
Okay, so if you look at the campus here, and I'm going to set our street view right here. So I think they were here on Campus Drive, and I believe the guys were probably in this parking lot or walking along this sidewalk going this way. Now, if you zoom in here, there's the green box that shows up in their video. And I believe they were looking down this sidewalk past the Sparks Automotive building here and over to the Losey building, which I believe the guy was right here that they saw prone, lying down right over here. So if you come back over here to the bird's eye view, here is where I think that they were walking down this way, down this sidewalk, and they were probably right around here, because there's your green maintenance box, or that might even be an air conditioner. We don't know. They were pointing this way. There's your Sparks Automotive building, the sign that you saw in the beginning of it. And then here is your Losey Center. And so I believe they were showing the person prone out right here on this spot on the third level. And then let me back it out a little here for you. So this is where they were showing the person who was either here or here. It was on one of these two levels. And then Charlie's tent was set up right here. So all the crowd was pretty much gathered in this area. And then there was people up on the top around all these different areas here overlooking it. Now, it's interesting that some of the views that I saw from potentially over here, people turned their heads to the right when they heard the shots. So that pretty much lends it to being from right here. Okay, so Charlie was sitting in his tent right here, marked by this yellow box, and it was facing this way, and he was pretty much situated almost in line with this sidewalk, I would say, right here like this. And so the shooter, from what we can tell from the videos, if it is the shooter, would have been sitting right up here in this corner part of the roof and easily had a line of sight right down to Charlie's neck. And certainly when we saw the video of the shooting there, as you can see, people who were standing back in here in this area, they looked to the right. You're in this area where shots are going to be reverberating all over the place, and it may be hard for people to tell where it came from, but most people seem to turn their heads to the right this way. Okay, now let me show you the video that probably shows the shooter after the fact. And here you can see the shot has just taken place, and the audience is ducking for cover, and they're getting ready to flee. And so this was taken from just behind Charlie's tent. His tent is right here. So this is upstairs on the second floor in the building right behind him and above his head. But let me take you back to the beginning of it, because maybe you didn't notice this, because it's going to show what I believe is likely to be the shooter. So when it pans over here, watch this roof right over here in the background. That's that building. So remember, the video was shot from in here, right above Charlie's head. Charlie was right here. And then this is the building right here. See the lousy center. So the person was right here. And it looks like he might have been running around over here where we lose sight of him. Okay, so right here in this frame from the video taken on the second floor right above Charlie's head, there's what's most likely the shooter right there. And you're going to watch him going this way, and he'll disappear behind this part of the roof. So watch as we pan over. See, he's moving now. He's getting closer and closer to that. And as we pan over, you're going to see him get closer and closer to the left. And he's going to hide right behind that thing there. So he's probably running to his access point, or however he got up on that roof. And then there's the crowd dispersing there. And here I slowed it down 5x for you and zoomed in so you can get a little bit clearer view of him running on the roof. And there's the best we can see from this view, but I'm sure there's got to be some security cameras that might have captured him. Now I want to show you this Life is Driving channel here on YouTube, and this is Adam Bartholomew. I believe that's how you pronounce him. And he had shot some video there. He was doing a live stream, and I'm going to show you some of what he's done here, where he's captured the building in the background. And you're going to catch a glimpse of the LOC building right there. See, this is at the LC. So I would think that the shooter was probably either here or up here. There is a way to get up to this level easily from this ladder. You could climb this ladder and then be right here, but it might be a little bit too visible from people who might be in these windows, so I can't really tell the architecture of whether they could see or not. But let's follow it around here a little bit as he moves, and you're going to see he's going to get a little bit better view of the building. He's walking around to go try to find protesters. And so he's backing away from the scene where the crowd is waiting for Charlie to come out. And so right here is where you get a much better view of what's going on. So if the shooter was going to be up here on this part of the roof, it looks like they can get access to it from way over here. This was his likely point of access, was coming up here and running across the roof, kind of like Thomas Crooks did before he shot President Trump. My money says the guy was on one of these two spots here.
Hey, how's that New Year's resolution going? What are you talking about? You know, that YouTube channel you say you're gonna start? Well, yeah, I'd like to, but editing's really hard, and coming up with a thumbnail stresses me out, and thinking of content ideas. I don't do any of that. I use TubeBuddy. Tube what? TubeBuddy. It does everything.
And I'll put a link to this video down below. Now watch here, because he was interviewing these guys when the shots rang out. And the building that the shooter would have been from is behind this building, down the sidewalk.
Sir, are they like restricting you guys up here or what?
Nah, it's too crowded. It's just there's just so much. Before we had a flag and we had it so it's positioned above the tent so it would be in the camp. They just moved.
What was that?
He just got shot! Holy
Holy
See, so the building is back around over here off to the left.
There's been a shooting. There's been a shooting. We heard shots.
So the building is back here behind these trees.
My son is down there. He says that Charlie Kirk has been shot in the neck. We have multiple eyewitnesses saying that Charlie Kirk has been shot in the neck and that they saw blood spray.
So if I measure from where we think the shooter may have been laying prone, somewhere right around here, to where Charlie's tent was located somewhere around here, this distance appears to be about 433 feet, which is about 144 yards. And if any of you saw my videos on the Trump assassination attempt in 2024, you remember that the Trump shooter was located almost, ironically, almost the same distance, about 133 yards. So here's a view of the courtyard where they were at. And of course, Charlie was down here in the tent over here, sort of facing along the line of this sidewalk. But here's the building, and this is where I think that the shooter may have been located. That would have been the easiest spot for him to be, where he can be somewhat secluded and not too many people notice him, except for the guys that might have seen him on the video there. And then he had a good clean line of sight all the way down to here.
Back up, because John, I mean, looking at these two photos, I would think somebody must recognize this person.
If you didn't know him and you passed him in the street, maybe without the hat and glasses, you probably wouldn't. But if you did know him, there's a pretty good chance you would. And we've seen that in many cases where people familiar with the person just say, I know who that is.
I also want to show, I believe we have a photo from the roof which show a footprint. Is this the photo that you?
So that's a photo of that position, and right there you can see the law enforcement markers at each spot. But what you can see is where it appears somebody was laying down. There's the impressions of where the foot would have been, where the palms would have been as they extended that rifle out. It's
actually an imprint in gravel, essentially, of the body position of a shooter.
Exactly. And this won't particularly aid in identifying the person. Now, there's always the possibility, that you could extract DNA if he had an ungloved hand off of there. But it does help establish the crime, the place where the crime took place. When they get a suspect, the measurements may help. But the big deal today is they have a gun. The gun is likely connected to the crime. The bullet that was fired from that gun came from a shell casing that remained in the chamber. He never, after seeing that shot, ejected the shell casing.
I got to just jump in.
Sure.
I understand we have some new pictures of the person of interest from the Utah Public Safety. These are other images. We'll try to blow those up a little bit more, but we are just getting these in now.
And what you glean from these photos is the rifle isn't in the picture, but now you get a clearer picture of the backpack. And we learned from the Thomas Crook's attempt to kill Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, you can disassemble the rifle. You can put the parts in a backpack and assemble it, when you're on site on that roof, and take that shot.
So, John Pistol joining us as well. The assumption is then that a rifle would have been disassembled in that backpack and brought up, if that is in fact the killer.
Yeah, that's right, Anderson. And the whole idea is, what can the FBI do to establish that rifle that was found to the shooter in this case, based on whatever forensic evidence that they have gleaned from that. The palm print, okay, but what do you compare a palm print to? It's not like fingerprints for driver's license or passports or things like that. They'll also be looking for things, any digital evidence. Was there anything clearly on the web or perhaps on the dark web where this individual, whoever he is, indicated plans or planning or ideas, aspirational even, about wanting to commit some type of act that would be noteworthy? And then the question is, after 24 hours, as was mentioned earlier, the odds of finding somebody, a suspect like this, go down after 24 hours somewhat dramatically. And so it becomes more and more of a challenge. And to find the gun, that's great. To find any physical evidence, that's helpful. But what ties this individual into whoever he is, how is he identified, and then what can be done to locate him once he is identified. And so family and friends, they're seeing this and they've got to be thinking, oh, I can't believe this has happened, but we've got to notify the authorities, and whether it's for the $100,000 reward or not. But right now, person of interest is not helping anybody other than trying to locate this individual.
Brianna, what stands out to you so far based on the statements of investigators, what's out there?
Yeah, well, quite a lot of information actually has been released. It's surprising that they haven't been able to get some leads on the photos, but there are some pieces that we can glean from this. One is the photo that's been released shows a flag emblem on the shirt that this suspect is wearing. I think that's pretty interesting, actually, either that he was wearing that to be able to fit in with this crowd at the rally, or that shirt was allegedly sourced from a wounded veteran foundation. So it could speak to perhaps his background or maybe even a motive. Additionally, I think the shell casings are going to be extremely useful in the next few hours and days. They're submitting those in a NIBIN that takes a couple days. It's like matching fingerprints, but with shell casings. That takes a little while, but with that, they're going to be able to see if that weapon was used in any other crimes across the nation, and that will hopefully lead police a little closer to that person of interest.
John Miller, I mean, as John Pistol was saying, I mean, is time on the side of the investigators here?
You know, time floats in these things. And what I mean by that is when we had Cesar Sayoc, the bomber who was sending pipe bombs, including to CNN across New York City, that went on for a number of days where we had nothing. And then literally at 4 o'clock in the morning, three leads came together, and then we had a name, we had a face, we had an address, we had a vehicle. With Luigi Mangione, we woke up that day with nothing, and then somebody spotted him in a McDonald's, and police came, and then we had a name, we had a suspect, and we had a murder weapon in a backpack. These things can turn on a dime, so the fact that they've put these pictures out, and now they put more pictures out, is to generate that lead bucket and make sure it's always full with calls coming in, because odds are, with this amount of exposure and this amount of resource, one of these is going to pan out.
Yeah, I mean, anybody, given the skill that this person had to make that shot, somebody who knows this person, seeing this photo, I mean, that's another piece.
That was not his first time shooting.
Right,
Somebody's going to know that in his background.
Right, and clearly there's probably, I mean, John Pistol, there may be a gun range where this person has practiced that would even identify this person.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like from the movies or something where let's go to the gun range, and obviously tracing the gun, as Brianna was referring to, where was that gun acquired? Was it purchased legally? Was it acquired in the black market? And the other thing that they would look at is how they can pursue this, identifying this person through all other means. So not only the physical evidence, the digital evidence, the dark web, as I mentioned, the neighborhood canvas, has anybody seen this person? But also, is this a trigger for some other person to use as a basis for taking some act that they think, okay, this is the start of what I wanted to do or we wanted to do, whether formally affiliated or just, again, thinking this, okay, this is the start of it. And this guy shot and killed Charlie Kirk, so I'm going to go and do something else, which I think, unfortunately, then leads to what you might get into later in terms of, are we going to see more virtual appearances rather than in-person appearances? And I imagine that would be the case for people who are wanting to appear in public up until a situation like this.
John Pistol, let me ask you, you were the president of Anderson University in Indiana for 10 years. I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous, I mean, a question I probably wouldn't have asked a couple days ago, but are outdoor political events, whether on college campuses or elsewhere, just too difficult to secure unless there is a presidential level protection?
I've been with my partner for 20 years this year, and let me tell you, relationships aren't easy. Even as a therapist,
Yeah, unless the person is bringing their own security package, whether as a top-ranking politician, president, VP, or speaker, or something like that, campus security cannot set up checkpoints. Any campus, however large or wealthy, absent a amazing undertaking of investment of resources. And
Because I mean, Charlie
threat,
Kirk had I mean, his security. I was looking at the videos. They certainly seemed to know what they were doing. They were scanning the crowd. It looked like it was a close protection detail because a lot of them, rushed in right away. They got him into that SUV. They weren't waiting around for an ambulance. They seemed to know, how to keep a close protection detail. But we're told by the university there were 6 university police, also assigned to this event. But there were thousands of people there, and clearly no one on the roofs.
Right, and so you don't have, like in Butler, PA, you don't even have the Secret Service and the local police who are not coordinating as well as they should have, as the lessons learned. So here we have a good close package of security, but anything from a distance, obviously just not effective, and fatally so for Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Brianna, I mean, if it is true that the words and phrases were scrawled on the rifle and ammunition, what does that tell you?
Well, this is a throwback in a way to what we saw even just with the Luigi Mangione killing in New York City, where there were notes inscribed on the shell casing. So all of this leads us to think that this is an ideological shooter, and that sort of fits the profile that we're seeing with several shootings, these politically motivated shootings these days, which are increasing frequently by the day. So one thing that we notice about ideological shooters, they tend to be younger in age, 20s and 30s. They tend to have a lot of experience with weapons. They tend to be loners, and they tend to really premeditate their crimes. Not perfectly so. I am confident that law enforcement will catch up with the shooter, but they do put a lot of energy into it because it's almost like a calling for them. They're fighting for some ideological reason.
Brianna Fox, thanks very much. John Pistol as well. John Miller.
It was a very touching call. Our hearts go out to them. She is a refugee. She literally came to the United States from a bomb shelter in Ukraine to escape the war, and she was going about her day. She was coming home from work on a light rail train, like all of us do all the time, and she was brutally murdered. As a native of Charlotte, I'm so sad to say that our city has gotten to this place. I was born here. I grew up here. I remember when the light rail was built. I remember the development it spurred. I remember the excitement. And to think now that you can't even feel comfortable riding that train hits me deep. The light rail brought this city access to jobs, access to education. People could take the train to college. It really put Charlotte on the map. And this incident has really, really injured that. Now, to Carlos Brown Jr., who we allege stabbed Erna Sorutska, is in state custody on first-degree murder charges. But I'm here today to announce that we're going to supplement those state charges with federal charges. These federal charges will go alongside the murder case in state court, and we hope that they will ensure justice for Erna, for her family, and for the whole Charlotte community. The charge we are bringing is in Title 18, which is the criminal code. It's section 1992A7, which is the law that Congress passed really for this situation. It is an act of violence on a mass transportation system. It is a law that is there because acts like this affect the American way. It affects our daily life. It is random acts on a train that are the thoroughbred and how we get through our cities to work, to our places of education, to our families. It is our way of American life. Crime makes people stop taking that light rail. They give up those opportunities, and we are here to be sure that we can save our city and bring those opportunities back. The maximum penalty for this federal crime is life in prison without parole or the death penalty. Of course, each individual case receives its own sentencing hearing by a federal judge that will decide the sentence based on the individual factors in this case. Of course, at this point, we're only making allegations. We do have a charge. We filed a criminal complaint. It has been signed by a federal judge. The charges have been brought, but they are just charges. Getting there has been a process. I want to thank the FBI, which has an incredible team that has investigated this case. They've ensured we had a basis for federal charges. I want to thank the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department that started this investigation, apprehended the defendant immediately after the incident happened at the light rail station. And I want to thank the District Attorney's Office and Spencer Merriweather, who brought first-degree murder charges right away when this happened. I think everyone knows the facts of this case, but I will briefly recitate what is in our criminal complaint. And that is that at 9:55 on August 22nd, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department responded to a call that there had been a stabbing on a light rail train. They located the victim, who had been suffered stab wounds in her neck, on her hand. They found a pocket knife on the scene, and they apprehended the defendant at the rail stop. Now, much more recently, the surveillance video was obtained from the train, and that's really what gave us the basis for federal charges here. And the surveillance video shows Irina Zarutska getting on the train by herself in her work uniform, sitting down by herself in a row that just happened to be in front of DeCarlos Brown Jr. Approximately 4 minutes later, Mr. Brown pulled out a pocket knife. You see him on video open that pocket knife, and he stabbed her 3 times in the neck. He then walked off the train with blood dripping from the knife.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
But we want to make sure that they get as much attention as possible so that we can get help from the public in tracking down this evil human being. So we're going to cue up the video right now, show that. I've asked Commissioner Bo Mason if he would narrate to you what is happening in this video.
Thank you, Governor. Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. If you look up to the top left, you'll see the building where the shooter was proned out in the top left corner. We'll go ahead and play that video, and I'll narrate as we walk through that. So here you see the suspect ran behind that upper building. He's going to come out on the right, moves to this far right corner. As he does, he's going to climb off the edge and then drop down to the ground. As he did that, he left some palm impressions. There's some smudges, some places we're looking to collect DNA. There's a shoe imprint where we believe the suspect is clearly identified as wearing Converse tennis shoes. Again, we'll replay that again so you can get another view of that. It's important to note his black t-shirt, his black pants, and there appears to be some white on the soles of those Converse tennis shoes. Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for. In the stills that are going to follow this, you're going to see a very distinctive t-shirt with an American flag and appears to have an eagle on it. There's also a baseball cap with a triangle on it and a pair of sunglasses. All distinctive, all things that we would ask the public to look for and try to identify if they know someone who has those items, who has been seen wearing those items. We're looking for all that information. Here you see the suspect after dropping off the building. He moved around across this grassy area, around the parking lot. We're going to pan to the right. After he crosses the street, this is where he moves over into the wooded area. This is the video evidence that we utilize to track his movements and to locate that firearm in that wooded area following the discovery of this evidence. Good. You want to go to the stills? So here's the still photographs I mentioned. These have been enhanced, so these are slightly different than what we introduced earlier. Please pay close attention to the t-shirt. Like I said, very distinctive with that American flag and that eagle. The hat with the triangle and the sunglasses. If you'll go to the next picture, please. The backpack as well. All identifying features that we're hoping the public can help us identify and lead us to this suspect. Next picture. And again, there's a better picture of the hat with that triangle logo, and again, the t-shirt. Blue jeans, and you get a good look at those Converse tennis shoes as well. We have pushed these out. We'll continue to push these out, and we just ask for the public's cooperation through the public. The tips that have been coming in are what are giving us our next leads and enabling us to continue to further this investigation. We've had great cooperation from the public, and we're continuing to ask for that as we move forward. Thank you, and I'll turn the time back over to Governor Cox.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mason. I want to thank Director Patel and his team. It's great to have them on the ground with us tonight. We've had several briefings, and he's had an opportunity to walk the crime scene. We appreciate our local law enforcement here. Again, we have Mike Smith, who is the county sheriff here. We have all of our local chiefs of police that are here as well, all working hand in hand with the state and with the FBI as we move forward with this investigation. Now, I'll just give you a little warning. We will not be taking any questions at this time. We're giving you the latest information we have, being as transparent with everything that we have. But I do want to share a couple things that I think are important. We cannot do our job without the public's help right now. The public has answered our call for action. So far, we've received more than 7,000 leads and tips. I would just note that the FBI hasn't received this many digital media tips from the public since the Boston Marathon bombing. This case also highlights the dedication of our law enforcement community. We have 20 federal, state, and local law enforcement partners that are working shoulder to shoulder to find the person who committed this horrific crime. With their support, we've completed nearly 200 interviews. As you're aware, as has already been reported, the FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the identification and arrest of the person responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk. We also continue to implore the public to support this investigation and come forward with any information. We are truly hopeful that this video and new photos will lead to even more tips. We are processing. We have an incredible team, a state and federal team working together to process those tips. We're going out in tandem to interview any potential person of interest or suspects. But we need, again, we need as much help as we can possibly get. Any videos or photos that you might have, the public, should be submitted to our digital media tip line, which is www.fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. Again, that is fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. You can also provide general tips about the shooting by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI, or at tips.fbi.gov. This is, I would just say, this is not just a local matter here in Utah. We have people all over the country that are helping to bring this perpetrator to justice for Charlie Kirk and his family. I will just add as well that, as was mentioned, there is a lot of forensic evidence that is being processed right now at both the state lab and the and federal labs, federal lab on the East Coast. So we are working in tandem together. I would also just add a word of note for those people who are spending so much time on social media. I think Charlie said it best, that when things get bad, we should put our phones down and spend a little time with our families. There is a tremendous amount of disinformation. We are tracking our team, the state team, and I'm sure the federal team as well. What we're seeing is our adversaries want violence. China, we have bots from Russia, China, all over the world that are trying to instill disinformation and encourage violence. I would encourage you to ignore those, to turn off those streams, and to spend a little more time with our families. We desperately need some healing. We'll have more to say about that in the days and weeks to come. More than anything, we are going to catch this person. Last thing I will just say is we've been working with our attorneys, getting everything that we need, affidavits ready, so that we can pursue the death penalty in this case, and that will happen here in the state of Utah. Again, to the public, to those who are grieving, thank you for your prayers. I know we are feeling those prayers. I know the Kirk family is feeling those prayers as well. We pray that God will bless our nation at this very dark time. We can start healing by finding this perpetrator and holding him accountable, and we need your help to do that. Thank you.
That was the latest update from officials, from the governor of Utah. and others. You are watching live now from Fox. We are going to take a 2-minute break. We will be back with more. When we come back, we'll take you out to New York City. 24 years ago today, a terrible, terrible 9/11 attacks happened.
Deadwing says the mic check was longer than the press conference. I don't have the rights to the TMZ video. Go to TMZ if you want to see that video. I think it's an very interesting video, the TMZ video. I don't have the rights to it, though. Obsidiano thinks they got nothing substantial. I mean, they might have a lot we don't know. By the way, thanks to Actually Dan and Man Bear Pig Cassie, City Locksmith Taylor, who says, from saying they want to be fully transparent to not taking questions, Charlie deserves transparency, not silence. That's what City Locksmith Taylor says. Thanks, Rhiannon Morin, Render Rink, who says, shouldn't they be able to identify his clothing and such and trace it through purchase history? I don't know where he bought the items. I guess they could, but maybe he got them secondhand or something, you know? So paid cash for them, maybe? Don't know. Maybe they, I'm sure that's stuff they're looking into. They did say that they're going to try to get DNA when he, I don't believe he was wearing gloves, and certainly he put his hand on the roof when he jumped down. They know exactly where his hand is. So they might, I wouldn't be surprised if they can get DNA from him. I don't know what the DNA will turn, I don't know enough about this to know what the DNA will turn up. Maybe if his DNA isn't in the system, maybe a relative's DNA is in the system or something. I mean, maybe that'll really help them. I don't know. But it didn't look like he had gloves, and it certainly looked like he put his hands on the roof. Thanks, Chris Timmons, by the way, and Jay Gilly. Jay thinks that most bolt-action rifles can have their stocks removed easily with 2 screws called action screws. By the way, if he did disassemble the gun after shooting it, he had to do that fast. I mean, really fast. Well, unless he didn't disassemble it and then disassembled it later or something. Because, you know, the video that's out there, look, everything we've seen seems to suggest he got out of there really fast. I mean, he was running off the roof. You know, that video that we were looking at yesterday, where is it here? Oopsie, that's not what I wanted to do. Hold on. Where is the video from yesterday here? Tanner McKay Maxwell. This one right here. Hang on. I'll show you. If
Investigation into the shooting death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, FBI Director Kash Patel and other officials are giving an update in the investigation. Let's listen in.
We appreciate the media and the partnership we have with you in helping us to get information out to the public so that we can catch this assassin and hold him accountable. We are going to share a portion of a video and that we have of the suspect, as well as some new stills. Those have already been released, but we want to make sure that they get as much attention as possible so that we can get help from the public in tracking down this evil human being. So we're going to cue up the video right now, show that. I've asked Commissioner Bo Mason if he would narrate to you what is happening in this video.
Thank you, Governor. Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. If you look up to the top left, you'll see the building where the shooter was proned out in the top left corner. We'll go ahead and play that video, and I'll narrate as we walk through that. So here you see that the suspect ran behind that upper building. He's going to come out on the right, moves to this far right corner. As he does, he's going to climb off the edge and then drop down to the ground. As he did that, he left some palm impressions. There's some smudges, some places we're looking to collect DNA. There's a shoe imprint where we believe the suspect is clearly identified as wearing Converse tennis shoes. Again, we'll replay that again so you can get another view of that. It's important to note his black t-shirt, his black pants, and there appears to be some white on the soles of those Converse tennis shoes. Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for. In the stills that are going to follow this, you're going to see a very distinctive t-shirt with an American flag and appears to have an eagle on it. There's also a baseball cap with a triangle on it and a pair of sunglasses. All distinctive, all things that we would ask the public to look for and try to identify if they know someone who has those items, who has been seen wearing those items. We're looking for all that information. Here you see the suspect after dropping off the building. He moved around across this grassy area, around the parking lot. We're going to pan to the right. After he crosses the street, this is where he moves over into the wooded area. This is the video evidence that we utilize to track his movements and to locate that firearm in that wooded area following the discovery of this evidence. Good. You want to go to the stills? So here's the still photographs I mentioned. These have been enhanced. So these are slightly different than what we introduced earlier. Please pay close attention to the t-shirt. Like I said, very distinctive with that American flag and that eagle. The hat with the triangle and the sunglasses. If you go to the next picture, please. The backpack as well. All identifying features that we're hoping the public can help us identify and lead us to this suspect. Next picture. And again, there's a better picture of the hat with that triangle logo, and again the t-shirt. Blue jeans, and you get a good look at those Converse tennis shoes as well. We have pushed these out, we'll continue to push these out, and we just ask for the public's cooperation through the public. The tips that have been coming in are what are giving us our next leads and enabling us to continue to further this investigation. We've had great cooperation from the public, and we're continuing to ask for that as we move forward. Thank you, and I'll turn the time back over to Governor Cox.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mason. I want to thank Director Patel and his team. It's great to have them on the ground with us tonight. We've had several briefings, and he's had an opportunity to walk the crime scene. We appreciate our local law enforcement here. Again, we have Mike Smith, who is the county sheriff here. We have all of our local chiefs of police that are here as well, all working hand in hand with the state and with the FBI as we move forward with this investigation. Now, I'll just give you a little warning. We will not be taking any questions at this time. We're giving you the latest information we have, being as transparent with everything that we have. But I do want to share a couple of things that I think are important. We cannot do our job without the public's help right now. The public has answered our call for action. So far, we've received more than 7,000 leads and tips. I would just note that the FBI hasn't received this many digital media tips from the public since the Boston Marathon bombing. This case also highlights the dedication of our law enforcement community. We have 20 federal, state, and local law enforcement partners that are working shoulder to shoulder to find the person who committed this horrific crime. With their support, we've completed nearly 200 interviews. As you're aware, as has already been reported, the FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the identification and arrest of the person responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk. We also continue to implore the public to support this investigation and come forward with any information. We are truly hopeful that this video and new photos will lead to even more tips. We are processing. We have an incredible team, a state and federal team working together to process those tips. We are going out in tandem to interview any potential person of interest or suspects. But we need, again, we need as much help as we can possibly get. Any videos or photos that you might have, the public, should be submitted to our digital media tip line, which is www.fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. Again, that is fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. You can also provide general tips about the shooting by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI, or at tips.fbi.gov. This is, I would just say, this is not just a local matter here in Utah. We have people all over the country that are helping to bring this perpetrator to justice for Charlie Kirk and his family. I will just add as well that, as was mentioned, there is a lot of forensic evidence that is being processed right now at both the state lab and the federal labs, federal lab on the East Coast. So we are working in tandem together. I would also just add a word of note for those people who are spending so much time on social media. I think Charlie said it best, that when things get bad, we should put our phones down and spend a little time with our families. There is a tremendous amount of disinformation. We are tracking our team, the state team, and I'm sure the federal team as well. What we're seeing is our adversaries want violence. China, we have bots from Russia, China, all over the world that are trying to instill disinformation and encourage violence. I would encourage you to ignore those, to turn off those streams, and to spend a little more time with our families. We desperately need some healing. We'll have more to say about that in the days and weeks to come. More than anything, we are going to catch this person. Last thing I will just say is we've been working with our attorneys, getting everything that we need, affidavits ready, so that we can pursue the death penalty in this case, and that will happen here in the state of Utah. Again, to the public, to those who are grieving, thank you for your prayers. I know we are feeling those prayers. I know the Kirk family is feeling those prayers as well. We pray that God will bless our nation at this very dark time. We can start healing by finding this perpetrator and holding him accountable, and we need your help to do that. Thank you.
And there you see FBI Director Kash Patel walking out. We just heard, of course, from Governor Spencer Cox of Utah saying, we are going to catch this person. We will pursue the death penalty in this case. Officials did show video that we saw of a portion of the video after the shooting where we saw the suspect actually jumping from the roof. You see it right there. He goes to the corner, jumps down, ends up in the grass. They talked about how they've been able to determine a shoe print, saying that he was wearing Converse tennis shoes. He's then going to walk pretty casually across the grass here and ultimately walk across the street. They talked in great detail about what he was wearing, talking about this black T-shirt that was distinctive with an American flag and an eagle on it, a black hat with a triangle logo on it, but clearly an appeal to the public for any potential help and leads. Matt Gutman joins us live in Utah. Matt, what struck you and stood out to you as we got this latest update from officials there in Utah?
I think it's got to be that video, Lindsay. That was pretty stunning. You're watching the moments just after this assassination, and that shooter fired that one round from that high caliber bolt action rifle and then knew to get away immediately. You can see that video, him scampering across the roof of that campus building and then taking a pretty big leap off the roof. And it's not clear in the video. We'll have to go over it and ask authorities, but it almost appears as if he injures himself when he lands, and as he jogs away, he seems to limp off before going to a walk. And what's also clear from that video, Lindsay, there were people walking around him. People probably saw him, but obviously did not register that he was the shooter. And authorities say he deposited or dropped his weapon in a wooded area, basically about 300 yards behind me, which made him even more inconspicuous as he went through these neighborhoods, which they now say he did. The other thing is, I think that Utah's Governor Spencer Cox said that healing can begin once we catch this perpetrator. And of course, Lindsay, the multiple appeals to the public, the FBI, local and state law enforcement saying we cannot do this without the public's help. They have video, they have the identifying features of this suspect. What they need from the public, they're saying, is a name. And they're asking the public to call 911 or that tip line if they get it or they know who this is, Lindsay.
And also interesting that the governor said, Charlie Kirk said it best, put your phones down, with regard to the disinformation that he said was happening on social media.
I think he's been trying to calm the rhetoric. I guess it was yesterday, it seems like a week ago, when he said that this is a political assassination, but he also noted attacks against Democratic lawmakers and said we need unity. We need to calm things down now. And I think that was the same tone that we heard. He also said that closure would come with seeking the death penalty, which he has sought legal counsel in the state over. And that's the fate that awaits this suspect once he's caught, if he's apprehended, Lindsay.
All right, Matt Gutman for us. Thanks so much. I want to bring in Pierre Thomas, who joins us now on the phone. And Pierre, what do you make? We didn't hear from Kash Patel, though we saw him there right behind the governor. What do you make of the FBI director actually being there on the ground during this investigation?
Well, Lindsay, he, according to my sources, is trying to send a clear message that this is the highest priority. We also know this is the murder and assassination of one of the president's close friends and advisors and someone who has supported him. The FBI director, the 8th Attorney General of the United States, they all want to signal that no case right now has a higher priority than this. The other thing that struck me about the press conference is this is a full-out campaign to get the public to help. By releasing the video, they're trying to just stir anybody's memory information. They focus on the T-shirt that the suspect was wearing. They focus on the backpack. They're looking for anyone that recognizes something about this person to be the person that would call into the FBI and to law enforcement and says, I think that is so-and-so and so. This is what this is about. And they also said they're getting a stunning amount of tips, 7,000 leads and tips, the most since the Boston Marathon bombing. So they believe that the way this case will be solved is for somebody in the public who has seen this person and can recognize them and will call into law enforcement.
Pierre Thomas, thanks so much. And as you said, yeah, they've mentioned they have not had as many tips since the Boston Marathon bombing. Talked about how there have already been 200 interviews that have been completed. Aaron Katursky joins us also on the phone. Aaron, just talk about, again, that appeal for help from the public and what you're hearing from your sources.
Well, it's the video that helps us understand why law enforcement is so confident this individual depicted in still images taken from the video is the shooter, right, Lindsay? Who else would be jumping from the roof and scampering off? But it doesn't really do much to help law enforcement identify the individual, and that is why they are imploring the public to rack their brains to see if they can remember anything that might help them identify the individual that they believe shot and killed Charlie Kirk. That they're receiving as many tips from as the Boston Marathon investigation, I think, is telling, because the FBI really hasn't had as much trouble identifying a shooter perhaps since then, and so it does reflect in some ways the insistence on public help. In the Boston Marathon case, that manhunt went on over 3 days. They shut down Boston. They have not done that here or told the public to alter their posture in any way, except to say, look at the distinctive T-shirt, look at the hat, look at the sneakers, and see if you can do anything to remember who this individual is. They are confident that someone on that campus would recognize him after he spent at least a half an hour there in advance of the shooting.
And again, they did express confidence. Governor Cox saying, we are going to catch this person. Aaron Katersky, thank you so much. We will, of course, continue to keep you updated on ABC News Live and abcnews.com with whatever updates we see with regard to the death, the murder of Charlie Kirk. Until then, I'm Lindsay Davis in New York. Good night.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
There was the doctor, the loving husband, the incredible stepfather, and then there's this monster. There was a bombshell. Someone found a hidden camera in the bathroom. 3,000 videos, 1,400 photos. This betrayal was terrifying.
He wanted to kill my son.
Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd, very, very big. Thank you, my fellow Americans. 84 years ago this morning, the banks of the Potomac were filled with the clamor of construction workers who broke ground on the building now known as the Pentagon on September 11th, 1941. At the time, it was the biggest building ever built. From that moment forward, this structure stood as a monument to American strength, power, and cherished American freedom. Exactly 6 decades later, on September 11th, 2001, those same walls, built with the sweat and muscle, blood of our parents and grandparents, were scarred by flame and shaken by terror as our country came face to face with pure evil. On that fateful day, savage monsters attacked the very symbols of our civilization. Yet here in Virginia and in New York and in the skies over Pennsylvania, Americans did not hesitate. They stood on their feet and they showed the world that we will never yield, we will never bend, we will never give up, and our great American flag will never, ever fail. That terrible morning 24 years ago, time itself stood still. The laughter of school children fell silent. The rush of our traffic came to an absolute halt. And for 2,977 innocent souls and their families, the entire world came crashing down so suddenly. In the quarter of a century since those acts of mass murder, 9/11 family members have felt the weight of missed birthdays and empty bedrooms, journals left unfinished, and dreams left unfulfilled. To every member that still feels a void every day of your lives, the First Lady and I unite with you in sorrow. And today, as one nation, we renew our sacred vow that we will never forget September 11th, 2001, Amid the horror of that morning, some used cell phones and office lines to whisper their final words to those who mattered most. They whispered indeed. At 8:59 a.m. aboard United Flight 175, Brian Sweeney called his wife, Julie. He told her, "Do good, go have good times. I totally love you. I'll see you again. I'll meet you up there." 4 minutes later, his plane hit the south tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:12 a.m. aboard American Airlines Flight 77, Renee May called her mom. Just the day before, Renee had learned that she was 7 weeks pregnant, but she never got the chance to share the news. She simply said, "I love you, Mom." 25 minutes later, Renee's plane struck the Pentagon. So violent, a strike it was. At 9:53 a.m. aboard United Flight 93, Elizabeth Waineo called her stepmom. They're getting ready to break into the cockpit. What do I do? I love you so much. They're going to break in. 10 minutes later, Flight 93 ended in the hallowed field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. At 10:25 a.m., Tom McGinnis was trapped on the 92nd floor of the North Tower when he told his wonderful wife, Elena, on the phone, "There are people jumping from the floors above us. If we get out of here, it'll be a total miracle. I love you, darling. Take care of Caitlin, beautiful daughter." 3 minutes later, the tower fell. Out of the ash, we witnessed the awesome power of that incredible love. We've seen it rise again. Out of the wreckage, we watched unbelievable courage suddenly take form. And out of the darkness, we saw the timeless truth of American character shine for the world to see. In America, we take blows, but we never buckle. We bleed, but we do not bow. And we defy the fear, endure the flames, and emerge from the crucible of every hardship stronger, prouder, and greater than ever before. Last year, we were a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. In New York, there were heroes like Chuck Costello, a 46-year-old elevator mechanic, and a member of the Knights of Columbus. He selflessly ran into the World Trade Center to free people trapped in the elevators. His body was not found until the following January, deep under the debris. While going through his belongings, Chuck's widow, Mary, a phenomenal woman, discovered a personal prayer written in his own words: "Help me to light the way for those in the dark, and when I enter the darkness, let me not panic, but patiently wait to remember the light." Beautiful words. When the time came, Chuck ran boldly into the darkness of hell on earth, and now he shines in the light of heaven above. We remember him this morning. That day we learned that the American heroic spirit was all around us. We saw it in the police officers, the great firefighters, the service members here at the Pentagon, and in the hearts of every American who answered history's call. One such hero was Army Sergeant First Class Steve Workman, who was on the edge of the impact zone when this incredible Pentagon was hit. He was right there. After leading hundreds of people to escape routes, Steve turned back and plunged into the inferno itself. Pushing through the debris, he came upon a severely burned Navy lieutenant, the only survivor from the Navy Command Center. Only one. The wounded lieutenant looked into Steve's soul and said, "Don't let me die." Steve replied, "I won't. I've got you. Just hang on." He wheeled the lieutenant out of the wreckage on the back of a maintenance cart before getting in the ambulance and taking him to Walter Reed Hospital. That man Steve saved, Lieutenant Kevin Schaefer, went on to join the elite team of CIA operatives who located Osama.
With Thrivent, your financial plan is bigger than just you. Your finances can be a force for good for the ones you hold in your heart. Because our business can be a force for good for the ones you hold in your heart. Because our business is helping your money mean so much more. Thrivent, where money means more.
Please stand. Where are you? Oh, good-looking man. You're a good-looking guy. You remember that day. You remember that day. Good. Thank you very much, Steve. That was something. That was something. In the years that followed, America's warriors avenged our fallen and sent an unmistakable message to every enemy around the world. If you attack the United States of America, we will hunt you down and we will find you. We'll go all over this sometimes magnificent earth. We will crush you without mercy and we will triumph without question. That's why we named the former Department of Defense the Department of War. It will be different. We won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything before that and in between. And then we decided to change the name. Well, now we have it back to where we all want it. Everybody wanted it. Everybody is so happy to have it back. You will fail and America will win, win, win. The enemy will always fail. 24 years have passed since that Tuesday morning in September, and an entire generation of Americans have come of age in a totally different world. While they cannot remember the agony of that day, they are carrying on the legacy of those who lost. Around 8:30 a.m. on the morning of the attacks, Army Lieutenant Colonel Kip Taylor sent an email to his friends and family describing the joys of fatherhood and his excitement for the upcoming birth of his unborn son. He wrote, after you have kids, there are days that you just get going and you say, "Hi, honey, I'm home." What we do until that moment pales in comparison, but just that little statement, "Hi, honey," so American, so beautiful. But that's really the point of it all, isn't it? An hour after he sent that email, Flight 77 flew into Colonel Taylor's Pentagon office and claimed the life of a very proud father and true patriot. 6 weeks later, on October 25th, 2001, Colonel Taylor's son, Luke, was born. Luke then tragically lost his mom to cancer when he was just 2 years old, leaving him to be raised by his father's brother. As a young boy, Luke asked his uncle about the folded flag on the bookshelf, and when he learned about his dad's decades of devotion to the Army and the horrors of September 11th, that's when he learned. Luke carried that memory with him and joined the ROTC as a college freshman. He graduated just last year, and I'm pleased to say he is with us today as a second lieutenant and doing very well. He's rising quickly in the infantry, preparing for Army Ranger School. He's spitting image of his dad, they say. Luke says that every time he puts on a uniform, he feels connected to his father and to our country. But it was a father he never knew. Luke, your parents are together in heaven, and they could not be prouder of the man that they have produced. They produced you. Those two great people produced you. Luke, please stand. Thank you. You look good, Luke. You look good. They're looking down on you. They're very proud. This morning, we recall the light of America's best and bravest and the love that they showed in their final moments. In their memory, we make a solemn pledge and a noble promise. We will honor always our great heroes, and you are our heroes. There's a group of people that don't want to talk about our heroes, but we will always talk about our heroes, and that's the way our country is, and that's the way the people feel. We will defend the nation they served, the values they upheld, and the freedom for which they died. We will support our troops, we will protect our families, and we will preserve the American way of life for every future generation. We will build taller, grow stronger, fight harder, and soar higher. And together we
family who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States.
And the Utah Department of Public Safety as well that are set to be involved. But as we mentioned, President Donald Trump has also expressed condolences following the murder of the conservative influencer Charlie Kirk, whom he described as a great and legendary person. In a post on social media platform on Truth Social, Donald Trump stated that no one understood or connected with the heart of American youth better than Charlie. And however, with this assassination that has now taken place in broad daylight, Donald Trump, he says that he was loved and admired by all, especially me and Nonda. Now that he's no longer with us, Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and his family. Charlie, we love you. And this is also coming at a time when the White House is informed that Donald Trump, the president, has ordered that all American flags throughout the United States should be lowered to half-mast. And this is going to happen in honor of Charlie Kirk, where President Trump is ordering all American flags throughout the U.S. to be lowered to half-mast. This development is now coming at a time when Donald Trump, taking to social media, on Truth Social, saying that conservative activist Charlie Kirk died after he was shot in the neck while speaking at a Utah Valley University event. As Donald Trump said that Kirk was loved and
House in Yankee Stadium to greet some of the players on this September 11th as he is there for some of those ceremonies, those remembrances. He obviously in attendance in Washington, D.C. earlier on today. But we're also talking about the top headline right now out of Utah as the manhunt continues after the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. And we saw plenty of reaction yesterday on the Capitol Hill steps from lawmakers talking about this. A post from Bloomberg saying after the shocking assassination of Charlie Kirk, lawmakers in Washington reacted with grief, frustration, anger, and fear about their own security. And that is a topic of conversation that we're going to get into right now. Let's bring into it here on Live Now from Fox, Semaphores reporter Eleanor Mueller. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And you were just noting that potentially President Trump had more security. That seems to be on the forefront of so much people's minds. What can you tell us about your reporting?
I was at the Capitol last night and again this morning, and I think the sense among lawmakers is, one, a sadness that this is the point that we've gotten to as a country. There's a lot of urging, a cooling down of the political rhetoric, but at the same time, we're seeing them express a lot of concern for their own safety. Congresswoman AOC was saying that she had a rally in North Carolina this weekend. She's now postponed that rally. Congresswoman Nancy Mace told us that she will no longer be holding outdoor events. She's considering going back to carrying a firearm 24/7. And so we're starting to see a lot of politicians take these additional measures beyond, getting more money from Congress to pay for security to protect themselves.
And I want to ask you, because Speaker Mike Johnson, obviously kind of at the focal point of so much of this, obviously the leader in the House, the Republican, a close ally of President Trump, similar to the way that Charlie Kirk was, just as President Trump called him a great American patriot. But just talking about the logistic of the security, what does Speaker Mike Johnson say, and how much of a burden might that be if they try to increase security for all the members?
It's a big deal, especially when you're talking about a quote unquote security detail for every member, both in their home districts and now at the Capitol, that Speaker Mike Johnson said today is in the billions of dollars. There's more than 400 members. It's a lot of money. And so what he said is they're looking at every opportunity available. Congresswoman AOC said that, in her mind, it's not even a resource issue. It's a question of a larger scale reevaluation of how Congress handles its security. I think that she said she feels, and other members told us they feel, that the way that Congress addresses threats is decades outdated at this point. It doesn't necessarily account for the internet or for, some of these other things that have come up. And so they want to see a structural reimagining of how they're kept safe while they're serving in these jobs.
Do they have security already? Is that something that is allowed by Congress? How much security do they have at this moment?
They do have security already. And in fact, they saw a big increase in how much they could spend on security, both at home and monthly while they're in Washington after 2 Minnesota state lawmakers were shot earlier this year. Those were lawmakers who are known by many members of Congress currently, and so it was something that hit pretty close to home. And as a result, leaders told them that they could spend a little bit more. Whether or not we see more resources allocated, I think remains to be seen. For now, we're seeing the focus mostly on, again, these other types of changes and what members can do of their own accord.
Yeah, that is so very true. And obviously, if you protect one individual, you potentially have to protect them all. And that is a very large body in that regard. I want to ask you, because it's 24 hours now, the manhunt still continues. So it's a very dynamic, very fluid situation. What are you hearing today, some 24 hours after it? People have slept on the news at this moment. Is it a different feel from yesterday or a similar one?
I'd say that the mood last night was very shell-shocked. The members had a vote right after the news broke that Charlie Kirk had indeed passed away from his injuries. And it was somber. The members were quiet. There was not a lot of talk, at least not off the floor. Obviously, we saw that there was some bickering happening on the House floor. this morning, it seems, folks have processed. Obviously, many are still emotional. They're still hurting after this attack. And it's been really striking to watch because obviously Charlie Kirk was not an elected official. He was a conservative activist. And still, I think the emotional response for many of these politicians in Washington has been as if he were.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point. And everyone was asking about the legacy of Charlie Kirk and his time there in some of those circles. And you mentioned the moment there also on the House floor of some tense moments between Republicans and Democrats. We heard comments from Representative Anna Paulina Luna talking about how Democrats shouted no potentially to a... Can you describe what happened in that moment? What was going on, the moment of silence, the moment of prayer?
Yeah, we had two Republican congresswomen. It was Marjorie Taylor Greene and then Congresswoman Luna basically made comments on the House floor insinuating that this was something that Democrats had indirectly caused. And of course, we don't know yet who shot Charlie Kirk. We don't know what their motivations were, but it's been... that is certainly something that we heard echoed then off the floor by other members, including Congresswoman Nancy Mace, something that was brought up again by a few people today. Senator Josh Hawley told me it's striking how this is all happening to Republicans by Democrats. Of course, that's not necessarily true. Those Minnesota lawmakers were Democrats and they were obviously targeted. But at the same time, that is something that seems pervasive, even though the congressional leaders are not themselves making those points.
Is there anything tangible to come from this? Because you mentioned talking about lowering the temperature in terms of this because the political violence that no one can get behind. Is there anything out there that people are trying to do? I know it's very quick, short time. We don't know a ton of details. Is there anything out there, any movement in terms of that, of what they can do to drop the temperature, to ease some of this rhetoric?
It's a great question. I think it remains to be seen. We're seeing a lot of words right now, not a lot of actions. That's something that the Senator Jim Justice pointed out when I spoke to him earlier today. He was like, you're seeing everyone calling on each other to speak more kindly, to bring the rhetoric down a notch. But we're not seeing that necessarily be acted upon. And so whether or not there's more tangible things that Congress can do to deliver on this effort to bring the partisanship down remains to be seen. I don't think anyone's brought it up in the last 24 hours since the news broke, and we'll just have to see.
In your eyes, what comes next? Because obviously there's so much for Congress to do, coming back from an August recess, a restart before a potential government shutdown. What are you keeping your eye on? What are you trying to keep your finger on the pulse of?
Mostly shutdown stuff. There's a few other things pending. Of course, the Senate today teed up President Trump's nominee to join the Federal Reserve, Stephen Myron. They're slated to vote on his confirmation on Monday. That'll put him in place at the Fed in time for their vote on lowering interest rates next week, which was a big priority for the White House. But external of that, I think a lot of the focus is on how members can coalesce around keeping the government open past the end of this month when spending is slated to expire. We're seeing a lot of big talk from Democrats that they're going to insist on, concessions from Republicans on healthcare, specifically extending these Affordable Care Act subsidies that helped keep premiums low during the pandemic. We've also seen Republicans say that that's a hard line for them. I think fiscal hawks specifically have big concerns about spending the amount of money that they would have to spend. And so remains to be seen where they can come together.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And obviously, it kind of sometimes always figures itself out. But this new, in light of what we saw yesterday, the security details, and that is another kind of price tag that is very, very big. All right, Eleanor, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Great reporting. Thanks for joining us. All right, thank you so much.
I remember when agents, they didn't know their left hoof from their right. Some are too eager, jumping in before I'd finish speaking. Others promised to wrangle code, ended up letting the cattle loose. But then, Warp rode into town. Transparent, reliable, and fast on the draw. In a town full of passers-through, Warp's the one you can trust. From prompt to production. And partner, that's worth its weight in gold.
Well,
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 10:52 on the East Coast and 7:52 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Right now, you are taking a live look over this crime scene here over in Orem, Utah, a story that we have been following very closely here. The rifle used to assassinate Charlie Kirk has been recovered in a wooded area as the shooter does remain on the run this morning. The FBI providing the update earlier on today, just a couple